everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Polk County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. All commissioners are present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, next up is comments for items not on this agenda. All right, seeing none, hearing none, I will move on to approval of the agenda.
Also move.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously. Approved minutes of June 24th, 2025.
Also move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously. Okay, Sheriff update. Good morning, Sheriff Garden.
So, good morning. You do have a couple copies, two different documents that I provided. Just basically just so you guys have an understanding of the last couple months of activity and what that looked like. You know, how many traffic stops, how many total incidents, crashes, all that kind of thing. Just in the last 2 months, just so everybody knows, there's, 1,448 calls that we handled with 438 traffic stops, about 103 physical arrests. There was 37 crashes in that period of time too. And so this report just it definitely does not cover everything in terms of like it lists out arrests. It lists out kind of just a summary of all the different types of arrests, and it pulls out ones that are similar so you guys can get an understanding of, what kinds of things. And then on the very last page, it just gives every single call and types of call, just so it's broke down. So you can see what types of calls everybody's going on. But, the deputies that work in patrol and in the jail have been working. I mean, our volumes are just up. And so we, over the last 3 months on patrol, we've been a little short-staffed, and, we are full staff now. Whether doesn't mean necessarily everybody's off training, but we have multiple people within different levels of training. So, and a lot of new faces around. So in the jail, we are full staff. Yeah, we are full staff. I swear one person in today, the final CT position. We have a lot of movement that's going to be happening with some staff over the next 18 months. And so we've been working a lot of just process and planning, succession planning. And so we've been kind of getting those things, especially with like jail inmate programs and that kind of thing in the jail. It's a lot of work. So we got a lot of time, or a short amount of time to get it done, but we can get it done. A couple other things patrol wise. We did stop Marine Patrol this year, and we ended that agreement with the Marine Board. And the reason they cut funding again, 30%. And so our materials and services, because fuel is what costs, and maintenance is what costs that program. But originally at about $30,000 in staff costs, and they were going to cut that another 30%. So, almost a third of the overall cost. So we ended that agreement. They originally gave us a budget and all that stuff. We got that approved. And then, I don't know, 2 weeks before the end of the budget year, they came and said that they're reducing 30% across the board for most agencies, except state police and those kind of things. So I made that decision to stop that. We just can't keep doing the same amount of stuff for less money. It's just frustrating when the state does things a certain way, but then they tell you, I mean, I don't have to explain that to you all, but it's just a different standard sometimes. So Marine Patrol is done. We will still be responsible for search and rescue type activities on the water. We're working on replacing the boats, because all the boats and equipment came from the Marine Board. It's all owned by the Marine Board. They haven't picked it up yet, so we still have that stuff. I mean, worst case, if we really needed it, we could use it. But I honestly don't even know, they don't know who's going to be responsible for the river. It hasn't been dictated by the Marine Board, so I don't obviously know if it's the Marion County Sheriff's Office or Yamhill or Benton. I honestly don't know, or if they're gonna backfill with state police. They have not told us what their plan is. So in the jail, our numbers are up. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we were, averaging 110 to 115 inmates for a significant period of time, multiple months. In the last 2 months or so, we've seen a pretty good uptick. We're averaging 145 or so in the jail, which is kind of getting to that upper number for us. It makes it hard for us to be able to move and put people in different spots to keep everybody safe and keep separates and people that just don't get along with one another. And it's a tricky game, but so we're getting up there in numbers. The DA's office in a meeting yesterday talked about their numbers being up as well for intake. So it correlates with what we're seeing. Just maybe it's summer. I can't tell you exactly why it's up right now. National Night Out, we're participating in National Night Out, which is August 5th. We typically go to 4 or 5 different community events out in the counties, out in the county outside of the cities. So we're planning on that. The other thing is our dog kennel, which is almost done. And I honestly haven't been out there this week. I don't know if the deck's up. Do you know? Oh, so it's pretty close.
Deck is up and stairs are in.
So that's basically what we were waiting for to get done so that we can open that. Just so everyone is on the same page. We have had over the last 3 weeks, we've had a couple different agencies decide to drop off dogs at the Marion County Dog Shelter that were found somewhere in Polk County. I don't know why or how that even thought process, because we've never had an agreement with them ever. So I don't know how that happened, but we are talking again with the Humane Society. They reached out to us. There's a different board, different director. They want to focus on community now. They don't want to focus on totally making money. And so I sent them an honest email. He was appreciative of the honesty and said that's not him and that's not his thought process. And so we'll see. The idea is that our shelter is not going to be a staffed full service dog shelter. It's mainly going to be a storage area for us to be able to get the dogs back to where they belong. And if we can't, my idea, or at least my hope, is that we can work some kind of agreement out with Humane Society that we can shuffle the dogs to them if we can't find a home or whatever it is for that dog here. So that's our goal. And I believe we also have an idea for the other city agencies to get the dogs to the Humane Society, get them to Humane Society, just as a process. So we're just looking to be able to do that too. So, but that meeting with Humane Society isn't for 2 weeks. So we'll see where we can come across with that. So that's really all I have. I mean, there's just, the deputies are busting their butts every day in the jail, especially in the jail with the amount of inmates that we've had, the high intensity inmates that we've had to deal with, but also on patrol. We've seen a reduction in speeds out on 22 with the amount of traffic enforcement we're doing. I've heard from people unsolicited about just the change and the appreciativeness of us being out on the highway doing traffic enforcement. And every day we're out there doing traffic enforcement. There's people dedicated to that under the grant that we have got from ODOT to do that. So we've been hitting that really hard, and I know the deputies are exhausted. But I also know that they know we have staff coming on and things are going to get better. It's not always going to be like it's been for the last 5-6 months. So yeah, happy to answer any questions any of you have.
Sheriff, first off, thank you for your increased patrol. You see your officers everywhere on the highway now. And traffic has slowed down, at least to me. I don't think your ticket numbers are quite as high as they used to be. Are you seeing that now?
I would say I don't dictate, that you have to, every other car, 50% of the cars you stop, or, I don't dictate on how many. I leave that to the discretion of the deputy. It's not, the percentages isn't any different than it's really been. Relatively close, but it's, about third to half, get citations on average, but that really hasn't changed. Just the numbers have increased. The percentages are about the same though.
Just thank you for being out there. That's all.
Appreciate everything, Sheriff. Just quick question on the Marine Board
Yeah.
issue. I understand that most of the funding for the Marine Board is registration fees, title fees, and things like that. I would like to look into that a little bit more. Are they?
So that is a funding stream for them. They also rely on Coast Guard federal money.
Okay, so that's the kind
That's
of
the hang up.
this. Okay.
Yep.
Are you hearing from other sheriffs across the association that they're struggling to keep their programs?
Oh, I can't tell you the number, but I know there's 8 or 9 programs that shuttered at the same time because of, again, they expect us to do at least the same amount of work, but then pay us less.
Exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. I'd like to elevate this through AOC.
And this isn't negative. It's not a negative. It's just a assessment of the situation. I asked the Marine Board, because state police gets $2.4 million. Like, what do we get for that? And that was the question. And their plan is different than most other plans. We all have to provide a plan of what our goals are. Their goals are, yes, marine enforcement, but it's a different kind of marine enforcement. And I said, what do we actually get here? And I was told that they were here on July 4th and July 5th for a couple hours doing boat inspections at Wallace Marine Park. That's it.
No, you'll get body recovery,
So,
maybe.
so again, Mr. Hanson has allowed us the ability to go out and look for our own boat as well, smaller, much more manageable. So we're in the process of doing that. So at least we'll have the equipment for search and rescue type of events. So.
Appreciate everything.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stay with the Marine Patrol issue. So you're not getting any more dispatches, right? They're aware.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Flag Valley,
Yes,
don't call us, we'll
Correct.
call you,
correct.
right?
Except.
I'm
search and-
gonna make a big fuss about this because now I'm gonna get into the politics of it. I find it incumbent upon you as an elected to make certain, I'm not dictating, I'm hoping that this is happening, that you're making sure that the public is aware we're not out there to help you. I right now feel like that's what we should be telling our constituents, that because of these decisions, not ours, we're not able to be out there on that river to help you, to help do enforcement. Because eventually there's going to be a death, likely this summer, and people are going to want to know, where was the sheriff's office? We've always seen them out here, but bad behaviors will continue to increase on the river, every waterway. I go out on the boat quite a bit in a different county. And so I see it. And so I know that's likely to happen, where drunk operators and all kinds of crazy stuff. But so I applaud the fact that you've been engaged, and sheriff before you engaged in Marine Patrol, lots of sheriffs before you. And I think it's been important, and it's been an important tool for the public. So they kind of depend on that to keep bad actors from getting worse. So I'm hopeful that we can find a pathway. It's your call, but we can find a pathway to let the city of Independence know, for example, we're not there.
That has all happened.
Good.
100%.
We're not there. And I want to make sure that the public knows we're not there. I've been actively involved in these life jacket kiosks, for example. Tiny little step that communities like Independence can make, and finally got one done. And at Wallace Marine Park several years ago over drownings. And it's not your problem, but the more education we can do, the better off everybody's going to be. So I think that's part of our problem. We depended on the Marine Board to help make sure that got done. Now I feel like they're pointing their finger at DC and saying there's nothing we can do, which is crap. It's just not true. If the state of Oregon and the governor felt this was a priority, they would ramp up somehow. They would find the funding to make sure that gets done. This is important stuff. And our constituents will be harmed because of it. I mean, if Jeff Merkley and Ron Wyden can say people will die, then I'm going to say the same thing. People will die. You know, I'm all in with trying to help figure out what's the right way for us to do what we can in your department for Marine Patrol, because it's an element of what we all deal with. But right now, it sounds like all of you that are working in it, short of maybe Salem Fire, maybe Polk one as well. I mean, I guess that's the other question. It's like, so are those two agencies, the fire agencies, are they going to be our search and rescue model going forward?
We are the search and rescue entity. So, you know, if Salem or Independence PD or whoever has a drowning, you know, if the person walked in from the bank, essentially, fire's going to be there initially. We'll have a boat to be able to go out and do SAR stuff, drones and all those. We have the SAR component. It's just the active enforcement. Yeah, out on the river. Yeah. So, yeah, patrol. And talking with the fire agencies, they know that, well, they know they're not search and rescue, but they also use a lot of that for training and other things to, you know, out on the water and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think there's avenues that they can help, but it's not going to be they're not the search and rescue part of our office.
Yeah. Okay. And in the jail, and I'm not alarmed personally about 145 average, but I see the trend line clearly as you're pointing out. And what's the relief valve? And there's a number somewhere in here that you, as the manager, are going to say, this is too many. We're having too many conflicts. What do you do?
So, I mean, what we've done every time is we don't have it's not 165 or 167. It's about that. Like, it just depends on the people in there and the staff in there know what inmates. I mean, it really is very dependent on the 140 inmates that are in there, and those change. And so 145 today may not be an issue, but 145 on Sunday might be a significant issue if multiple people come in, they can't get along. So we just look at that every day when we get up into the 140 mark to see, okay, if we get X amount of more intakes, we're going to have to consider, you know, these lower level crimes. But the problem is lower level crimes aren't being held by the court in there. So the lower level stuff might be, you know, it could be maybe a felony driving or a non-person crime type of event. But those are the things that we look at. And then, you know, for instance, we had over the weekend up until yesterday, somebody in the hospital, significant true medical issue. We were not comfortable even trying to get that person released based on their crimes, and we had to sit on them for almost a week. Because holding people accountable for crimes that I can't with a straight face just say, okay, I got to release you out of the, you know, jail or out of the jail because we just don't have the money. We have to find a way to balance all that. And it's just very dependent on those specific circumstances. But again, every day I'm talking to the jail commander or the sergeant over there about, hey, how are we doing? And it is just a daily communication that we do. We might be at 140 and it might be, hey, we're getting to even closer to that. It just depends and how many medical issues we're having. And if we have staff that are out on vacation and like, so it's not just inmate related issues too, that we talk about every single day.
Have we seen any relief on the percentage of high acuity mental health issues there?
No.
It's been pretty steady.
Yeah, it's unfortunately steady.
I figured that.
Yeah.
And physical health as well? I mean, is our trend line still going up?
For both, mental health and medical.
Yeah.
Hand in hand. So that's just from long-term rough.
Yeah.
Lives.
I think it's important, again, we continue to keep talking about these issues every time we get together. Put it on the record so people understand this is not an anomaly. this is what's happening in our jail, like other jails all over the country. And though we're trying politically, legislatively to get relief and solutions, I mean, nothing came out of this session, right? I mean, if it did, I'd love to hear about it.
Not that helps us, if that's what you mean.
There's no relief coming to the counties for us being the medical holding spot.
No, not at all. I will say, and I won't, because I don't have a lot of the information, but I do have a meeting today at 11, but there might be some avenues to get some prescription costs covered. For instance, just last month, we had $16,000 prescription cost bill, just prescriptions. And so we have a potential avenue to be able to maybe get those funded. And so there's other, if that happens, we have to do X, Y, and Z inside the jail for like electronic health records and those kinds of things. So it's not just a, hey, we can start billing for insurance, but I'm hopeful that this actually might work.
Me too. I think it'd be great if you can update, if you get movement on that. Update us.
100%.
Keep us educated on, so that while we're talking to legislators at any point over a vast number of failures, state and federal government, that we can at least be up to speed on what we think might work.
Yeah.
Or is working.
I will say if everything goes like they say, and that I think it will, we will do it as fast as we can. So to get that implemented, full speed. So
Yeah.
it'll cost us money if we don't. So
Sheriff, would that cover like cancer treatment stuff as well, or just
It's not outpatient.
not a patient?
there, I don't want to over promise on some of those things. I think the way I read it, that a lot of that stuff could be covered, but I don't want to make that non-attorney.
I can hope.
I think it's hopeful. So
Thank you so much.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Whitaker. We're going to talk about South Oak Grove Road, speed zone.
Yes, good morning. As you're probably aware, there's been a new traffic pattern change out of Oak Grove, South Oak Grove, Highway 51, 22, 55th Street. Part of a kind of an interim safety project that ODOT implemented. But it diverts traffic that's northbound on 51 that wants to go west on 22. It diverts them from Highway 51 to South Oak Grove. And so that's increased traffic a bit on South Oak Grove. There's been some complaints to ODOT about speed. And so ODOT reached out to us to see if we wanted to do a speed investigation there. But they also, advised us that it met the criteria for a residential zone. So I went and drove it at 25. It seems a little bit slow. 35 seems a little bit too fast. So I think if we sign it at 25, that's the least involved process. Doesn't involve a board order or a speed investigation, and it meets the statutory requirements for residential zones. So I would recommend that the board direct us to sign that at 25 miles per hour. So, any questions?
None from me. Absolutely support and endorse this.
Okay.
I'm good with it too. Do we do that by ordinance?
No.
Just an order?
Since it's statutory, it
Okay.
doesn't require any formalities.
Gotcha. Cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, for the record, as I've said in discussions with you about this is the first tools. And if we have problems with it in the future, that we can look for, or we know what they are. There's other tools we could use, again, for speed warning, besides patrol.
Mhm.
So, I mean, patrol, it's a short section of road, so I don't know how effective that is, but other tools that perhaps we can use as we continue to try to convince people that slowing down a little bit won't hurt them.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good job. Do we have any non-listed items?
No, sir. Yes, sir. No.
Okay. All right, nothing else. We're gonna adjourn.